Hi students. So I was going back through chapter 5 and kind of thinking about you guys and the annotations that we're doing. And, I just wanted to kind of model some of the annotation that I do. I like to write in the text, but I also like using an online tool if that's what's available. So when I began reading chapter 5 again, read it many times, but I have to come back to these texts. I read this line as Nicholas Mirzoeff, I think, I don't know how to pronounce that, writes, visuality is thus a regime of visualizations, not images. Visualization is enabled and mediated through technology. So I immediately had a question. It's really hard to write through the lens. I can't do that. So I immediately had a question. I was like, well, aren't images also mediated through technology? I'm a little confused. So I actually just went online and looked up, definitions for or comparisons of image versus visualization. And then I took some notes here on visualization versus image. This is me scribbling, and only I can probably read it. And I'm writing to myself that the former visualization is more of an analytical and purposeful process that when we visualize something, we are intentionally considering patterns, we're having insights, we're looking for trends, but this didn't really satisfy me. So when I feel, and for me it's a pleasant thing, when I feel uncertain or like that's interesting but I don't get it, not getting it for me is actually like a sort of entry point for curiosity. So as I go through the chapter, I'm going to see if this question that I have becomes clearer for me or not. And if it doesn't, then I might start referring to other resources to help me grasp what the authors are trying to distinguish here between image and visualization. One interesting thing I'd like to point out is that when we're reading, we're always, we're using the, this is going to be maybe a new word for some of you, but this schema, we're kind of like the landscape of our prior knowledge and our identity as a reference point, as a point of orientation within the text. We always have to refer to some background of knowledge, right? So that's kind of an insightful process. So I noticed that I started thinking about the word visualization and then just considered what comes up for me when I think of visualization. And for me, that becomes, and I think that's partly because of modern use of the term, like in meditation, we might visualize something. It actually becomes for me, yes, a very intentional process of trying within our mind's eye to see something that isn't actually in front of us. And that kind of helps me to begin to understand a little more deeply. Whereas if I think of just like an image is, to me, might be more of just like a recording of something that is in front of me, less influenced by my mind's intention than a visualization is. So I just thought it might be nice to give you an example of my own annotation process, and I hope that it's somehow useful for you. Okay.